I mentioned to you about a case that we were having, that one agent was, that she filed a complaint against one of our agents and against another agent from a different company. I don't know if you guys remember that, but our agent did not do anything wrong. She worked correctly.
Cannot hear you.
Really? Nobody can hear me?
Now yes.
I can.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yes.
So she did everything correctly, but this lady from the other company decided to include her on the complaint. And thanks to our legal counsel, Scott, which I have the pleasure to have as a friend, the case was dismissed.
It's good, congratulations.
Good, yes. The case was dismissed for one point that he mentioned on the response, that they filed the complaint too late. You know, they had 6 months from the transaction. When the transaction is closed, you got 6 months to file a complaint, and she took more than 6 months. I don't recall exactly how many months. Mm-hmm. But the fact is, because it was late, they shouldn't even take in consideration, but they did. They sent us the file, the complaint. So my friend Scott had to work hours to prepare the response, and they finally dismissed the case, which is
what was complaint about? What was wrong?
Okay, I'll tell you what it was. This agent, I will put a name because it's no problem. Yeah. Our agent Veronica was representing the seller. Okay, and she received 2 offers, one from Magdalena and one for Shirley. I don't know. Mm-hmm. The seller decided to go with the Shirley and rejected the Magdalena offer. Shirley's offer didn't go through, so the house had to go back to the market. And Veronica was holding an open house, and the buyer, who was being represented by Magdalena, went to the open house with a different agent and said that he was not working with Magdalena anymore. And this new agent presented an offer, and the offer was accepted, and the deal was closed. Magdalena found out about that, and she decided that she's the procuring cause, as she thought she was the procuring cause, and she filed a complaint. It would be okay if she complained against this other agent, whose name is Alan. Mm-hmm. But she should never include Veronica, because Veronica was representing the seller. So her obligation was with the seller, not with the buyer. She did not take the buyer. She did not write a contract for the buyer. She was still representing the seller through all the process. But she decided to include Veronica on the case, complaining that she was the procuring cause and she was entitled to the commission. So she filed a complaint more than 6 months after the transaction was closed. We received, they should know that before, but they processed the complaint. They sent it to us. So our friend Scott had to work hours, like I said, to prepare the response. And then we send it to them, and they end up dismissing the case. So that's what happened.
Orlando, there was something that we should take away from this and learn from this. And that is that it's very important in all of your deals to memorialize everything that's going on in your transactions. And this was something that we did, that your realtor did, Veronica, that was very good. She had text messages, she had emails, and you never know when something can blow up on you. I mean, she would have never thought in a million years that 6 months down the road, she's going to have to deal with this. And luckily, she had very good text messages, emails, things in writing. So it enabled us to go back and say, well, this is not true. This is not true. This is not true. And we were able to support it with text messages and emails. So it's very important that when you do your negotiations with other realtors and other people, get it in messages, emails, text, so that if you have to, you can go back to that down the road and support your position. I always tell people, if you're going to say something to an agent or talk about or negotiate something, always back it up with a follow-up email or text message so you have it documented. And she did that, and it was good that she did that. We should all learn from that.
Excellent point, Scott. Excellent point. Because I've been saying this in the meeting all the time, that we need to document everything that we do, and don't get anything verbally. Always follow up with email and texts, and keep the file. Even if it doesn't close, keep the file. You got to remember that the statute of limitations says that we need to keep the files for 5 years. Even if it doesn't close, we still need to keep the file for 5 years. Because down the road, if a complaint comes and we don't have the files, we don't have documentations to support our defense, it's going to be hard to prove our innocence. Let's put it this way. Okay, so always get everything in writing. Always get everything in writing. I've been seeing some agents that they decided to drop the price on the MLS, and they talk to the seller on the phone and say, "Hey, Mr. Seller, we have the property in the market for 3-4 weeks, and we have no activities. There is no showing requests. Can we lower the price $10,000? Oh, okay, lower the price $10,000. And you don't have that in writing. So you can't prove. If the seller someday decided to go against you, that says that you dropped the price without his permission, you cannot go to court and say, oh, the seller told me on the phone that I could drop the price $10,000. It's not going to be acceptable, right? We need to understand one thing that's very important. By default, our relationship with the public is transaction broker. We've been through this in the past, but it's always good to remember. By default, our relationship with the public is transaction broker. But that doesn't mean that you don't own any confidentiality, any other duties to the public, because you are under transaction broker. The transaction broker is understanding as limited confidentiality. And limited confidentiality means that we cannot disclose price, terms, and, be surprised, motivation. Now, we are all agents. You've been on the MLS many times. How many times do you see a text on the broker remarks or on the remarks saying that the seller is motivated? If you don't have it in writing, the authorization from the seller to disclose his motivation, you cannot put on the MLS that the seller is motivated, because this is part of the limited confidentiality. Price is another thing very important. How many times we have done ourselves? When we call to a listing agent, we ask the guy, oh, what is the minimum that your seller would accept? That's disclosing price. So if the listing agent cannot disclose price, we cannot ask for it, right? Remember that the buyer and seller is on an arm's length relationship. Arm's length relationship is that both wants the same thing in general, meaning the seller wants the highest price possible and the buyer wants the lowest price possible. And we need to keep this freedom of negotiation open. If the seller tells me, Orlando, I'm gonna list the property for $500,000, but if I take an offer for $420,000, I'll take it. He discloses that with me, and because it's a limited confidentiality, I cannot disclose this to anybody, because I'm jeopardizing his chance to take more than $420,000. If I go right at the bat and say, oh, give me an offer for $420,000 and I'll make it happen. No. If an agent calls me and say, what will be the minimum? He's already making a mistake, but I'm not gonna follow his mistake. I'm gonna tell him, look, send me your best offer and I'll see what I can do. And let him send the best offer, and then you submit to the seller. You gotta remember all the time that our main job is to facilitate a transaction. I don't have a power of attorney from the seller, So I'm not going to get into any discussion or arguments with the other agent about anything. Even if he submitted a ridiculous offer, what is my obligation when I received an offer? Present to the seller. Not to call the guy and say, well, man, how can you send such a ridiculous offer? No, submit to the seller. The seller will tell me, this is a ridiculous offer. If that's what you wanted me to respond, yes, then I'll respond. This is a ridiculous, that's what the seller said. So we got to remember that our point in this business is to facilitate a transaction and always follow the rules. Always follow the rules. Don't cut corner, because we never know when the situation like this is rise, and we're going to have to defend ourselves. But if we did cut corner, it's going to be hard to get a good defense. Good?
Yeah.
Question? No. All right.
No.
So,
Clear.
yes. Talk to me, Maurice.
No, no, it's clear. I understand perfectly.
Good, good. Now, guys, next Tuesday, you remember that the last meeting we had Karina Carvalho with us in our meeting.
Yeah.
She presented this new development on Brickell Avenue, actually on Brickell. And she's inviting us for a presentation Tuesday, 10 a.m. I'm gonna try to see if I can change it to 11, but it was already set for 10. I got a suggestion from one of our agents to be at 11. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to, but if you have an intention to attend to this event, put it on your calendar, Tuesday, 10 a.m. If I'm able to change it to 11, then I'll let everybody know. Okay? I have the flyer here with the invitation, and I'm gonna post the flyer on our chat, but I understand not everybody looking at it. I will also forward the email to everybody, so you all get the invitation. Okay, I think it's a good opportunity, at least to get to know this new building. And you never know when you got an investor is interested in get something with that style. Okay, I'll show you here. So here's the invitation for Tuesday, 27, 10 a.m. And that's especially for our team, One Way Realty Group team. Okay, it's not gonna have any other agents there. This event's being prepared for our agents. So let's go to this event. You know, try hard to be there, because it's good for the company, it's good for all of us, and it's learning something new is never too much, you know. All right, guys. First thing we're gonna do is talk about Loopnet, how to find commercial deals. I understand the majority of our agents working with residential, but you never know what you're gonna come across. Maybe some agents will come to, maybe some buyer will come to you and say, look, I want to purchase some commercial property. I want to do some investment. I had a situation, and I mentioned that a long time ago, with an investor from Brazil. And he said that he had an intention to move to the United States. And he had a $5 million that he wants to invest here. And actually it was $3 million. It was 5 years, the time that he was going to take to move into the United States, but it was $3 million that he had to invest. And he was asking me, Orlando, what can I invest here in the United States that I don't have to be here? Because I'm actually not going to be here. So I was presenting him the type of investment, which is a triple net. And we're going to talk about triple net. And one thing very important is that sometimes you're going to come across investors that they are actually picking your brain. They might have someone else to work with. They have some friends that will benefit from the commission, but he's picking your brain. He's learning from you. And at the end of the day, he's not going to close. So this is what I did to this investor. I told him, look, I charge $250 an hour for consultation, counseling. And I charge 10 hours in advance. So you pay me $2,500 and you have 10 hours to call me and ask whatever questions you wanted without being embarrassed and say all the time that he calls me and say, oh, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm sorry to bother you. So you're not going to be bothering me because you're paying for my time. And once you close a deal, I will credit this $2,500 back to you. Actually, if he closes, you're not actually making the $2,500. What you're doing is valuing your time because nobody else will value your time. If you don't value your time, nobody else will. They will pick your brand. They're going to talk to you more than 10 hours. And at the end of the day, he's not going to close anything or he's not going to close it with you. And you just waste your time. So if he decided not to give you the $2,500, knowing that he's going to get the money back once he closes, you're not losing a client because we cannot lose what we don't have. He never had any intention to close anything. That's why he doesn't want to give you that money. So we all, with our license, we are all allowed legally to charge for counseling. Okay, so do that. Charge for counseling and put this in your proposal. The money will be credited to you once we close a deal. So then they know that it's not a loss, it's not an expense because they're gonna end up getting their money back. Okay, and you will guarantee that if he doesn't close, at least you got $2,500. You didn't work for free. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about triple net. For you guys that doesn't know, for you guys that know, it's gonna be a review, but for you guys that doesn't know, triple net means that the landlord will receive a net of the rental and the tenant will be responsible to pay property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. That's why we call it triple net, because the three main expenses are responsibility of the tenant, okay? Maintenance includes building structure, roof, and parking lot. Meaning your investor will not going to pay anything, just collect rent. His only job will be log into his banking account at the end of the month and find out that the rent was paid, okay? And follow up if everything else is being paid as well, of course, but he doesn't have to take from his income, none of those expenses. And one of the business that are on triple net is Walgreens and CVS. Okay, Walgreens and CVS, they are on triple net. Now, what I need to point out to you guys is that sometimes they put it on the listing that is a triple net, but you need to look the description before you submit to the investor. You don't want them to find out something bad that you could have found out before. There are many situations where they list it as a triple net, but on the description they say it's a double net. Double net means the tenant will pay for property taxes and insurance, but not maintenance. So if there is any problem on the roof, the landlord is still responsible. If there is any problem on the building structure, the landlord is responsible. And if there is any parking lot, the landlord is responsible also to maintain the parking lot. That is the meaning of double net. And you need to find out if it's a real triple net or if it's a double net. Another thing that you need to look at is that many times you see people listing a triple net, real triple net, and then you look, it's a triple net, but what they are selling is the lease agreement. They're not selling the property. So you need to look into the description, and if it doesn't mention, call the listing agent and ask one simple question. Is it a fee simple? Okay, fee simple is a type of ownership. And fee simple is the most comprehensive way of ownership. That's what fee simple means. Most comprehensive way of ownership. You got to make sure that they are selling the building, not the leasing. Because if the leasing expire, you got nothing. Okay? Let's say the leasing expire and the tenant decides to move out. You got nothing in your hand because you purchased the lease agreement. Okay? So make sure of these two things. Number one, is it a real triple net or is it double net? Number two, are they selling the building? Is it a fee simple or they are selling only the leasing? Okay, remember that if you purchase the leasing, you get nothing. If the leasing expire, you get nothing. All the investment is down the drain. $2 million, $2 million down the drain. Maybe the investor won't get enough time to recoup his investment with the rent that he's collecting every month. And also, we need to be prepared to educate our investor if they don't know that if it's a triple net, the cap rate is going to be lower than a gross lease. Okay, what is a gross lease? A gross lease is when the tenant pays the rent and the landlord is responsible for taxes, insurance, and maintenance. That's called gross lease. Okay, so if it's a gross lease and the seller and the landlord is the one paying for all the expenses, of course your cap rate will be higher because from the income the landlord needs to take all the expenses. Now, looking at a triple net where the tenant is paying for everything, of course the cap rate is going to be lower, right? We all understand that. The landlord doesn't have to take any money to cover any type of expenses because all the expenses is the responsibility of the tenant. So the cap rate will be lower. We're looking at 4.5, 5.5%. And I wanted to point out to you this, when you see a cap rate higher on a triple net, like 6.5%, means that the lease agreement is about to expire in 2-3 years. Of course, there's a great chance that the lease will be renewed, especially if it's a CVS. They have been in that building for, let's say, 15 years. Do you think they're going to not renew the lease and go someplace else after 15 years marketing that location? Probably not. But because there is a risk when you renew the lease, and sometimes on the original lease agreement, after the first renewal, let's say they made the first lease for 5 years or 10 years. So after the first renewal, the lease, the rent amount is going to drop 5 or 10%. So meaning that the cap rate that they show today, it's not going to be the same after they renew the lease because the rent is going to go down. So all this information is your homework, okay? As an agent, we can not only look for the listing and send it to the investor and let him do all the homework. No, this is our job. Remember, you're making a lot of money. If it's a $3 million and you're making 3%, you're talking about $90,000, right? It's worth it to spend some time doing your homework about the listing before you submit to the investor. All right. Now, we are all used to use MLS, matrix. Now, forget about matrix when you talk about commercial property. Forget about it. If any agent is listing anything on matrix about commercial, they don't have the full information. And if I have a time, I'm going to show you that it's true. They don't know what they're doing. They're actually a regular residential agent that they luckily got a listing of a commercial property, and he listed the commercial property on the MLS. And they don't provide all the information that we need to find out the true cap rate for that particular investment. So forget about matrix. The best place to find commercial deals are on Loopnet. Okay? It's a loopnet.com. Write it down, loopnet.com. They do offer a free version and they offer a subscription. Of course, if you pay a monthly fee, you will be able to access, number one, access more listings. Number two, you will be able to post a listing as well. If you are on a free account, you don't get access to all the listings available, and you're also not going to be able to list anything. But the free version is a good start. Okay? Now, going to Loopnet, this is how it looks like. Okay? Let me just look into something here. All right, good. This is how it looks like. So you have for sale, for lease, auction, business for sale. So you get a bunch of different things that you can search for. Some people are looking for business for sale. This is a good place also to find business for sale. Or lease, you know, someone calls you and says, I wanted to rent a store. This is also a good place to find a store, right? And for sale. So when you are on for sale, you click on for sale, you got to enter the property type. So you see, we have a bunch of different things. Even multifamily, which is also considered a very good investment if the seller is here or if the seller is willing to hire a property management company to collect the rent, to take care of any problems that the tenants will complain about it. Remember, the multifamily is a type of gross lease where the landlord is responsible for all the expenses, including maintenance. So in our case, we're looking for triple net. So we're gonna put it here, retail, okay? Because the triple net is a retail. So you click on retail, and the location, you put Florida. This is not residential search. This is not a residential investment. So the location is not important. The guy is not gonna live there. What is important to an investor is the cap rate. Doesn't matter if the building is located in Sunny Isles or it's in Tampa. So it won't make any difference. And also you can look into different states as well. If you don't have much of options in Florida that will suit your investor, you can look into different states as well and you can get your commission, okay? There won't be any problem. So we click in Florida and then I do search. Let's wait for the image to come. Now we got it. Where's my map? Still loading. Good. Now you see there's a bunch of things there. When I put a retail, everything comes, but this is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a triple net. So I'm gonna come here and put a more filter. Now, here you can put the price minimum and maximum. You know, what are they looking for? They're looking for something between $2 million and $3 million, not to get all the listings available. Maybe there are some listings that's above $5 million and your investor said, no, I don't want anything more than $3.5 million. Then it will be better to put it on your search, the price range that you're looking for. And keywords, you can put a triple net or you can just put a Walgreens. Once you know that Walgreens is a type of triple net, you can come here and put a Walgreens. Okay, and then I'll do search. Now you see my map has a lot less options. Okay, and not all of them will be Walgreens. You see there's some here that doesn't say Walgreens. So there's a building for the bank Chase and it says here triple net. Now we do have a Walgreens right here. So let's look into this listing and find out what is really about it. That's a $3.1 million with a cap rate of 5.75. Now, don't believe what you see. Don't believe everything you see. You're gonna have to really look into the details, the descriptions. Some agents, majority of them, that are dealing with Loopnet, they are very professional. They put a PDF file with a report, including all the business around it, the population, the income of the population. They really do a very good job. Okay? Now, if you look in here, it tells me type of cell. It says triple net. Then you say, you know what, this is a good one. I'm gonna send it to my investor because it's within the range that he's looking for. It's a 5.75 cap rate. I'm gonna send it to him. But look at this. The subject property is a 13,000 square feet building leased to Walgreens in Daytona Beach. Walgreens is subject to a, you see that now? Can you put your camera? I get the impression that I'm talking to myself because nobody talks back and they don't see anybody. Tamara, turn on.
Yes, yes, Arlindo, we here.
Yeah, we here.
Right here, I'm looking.
Yes.
Yeah, because I look into all the cameras here.
You have us here.
Good, thank you. It looks like I'm talking to myself. One day I will invite one of you guys to do this presentation, and you're gonna see how it feels.
Don't worry, we're listening.
Yeah, well, I hope this pandemic ends soon so we can start doing meeting in a place where everybody's there, where we can get connection, you know? I love to look into people's eyes while I'm talking. You guys have no idea how much of energy you bring back to me when I look into you. Now, you see what I was talking about? Double net, even though it says here that it's a triple net, on the description, it says double net. Now, who's gonna tell me what a double net is?
It's, he's not paying for maintenance, yeah?
He's not paying for maintenance. He pays for property taxes, he pays for insurance, but maintenance is still responsible of the landlord. And if that is something that your investor doesn't want, this is not a type of listing that you're gonna submit it to him. That's what I'm talking about when I said, do your homework, you know? So then they have some more information here. You see, type is a retail, it's a drugstore, the size of the building, the year built, the price, the cap rate, price
Arlindo,
fee.
does that mean the information is wrong? Like, isn't the Loopnet supposed to do something about it, or?
Well, there is a discrepancy here. You see double net here and you see a triple net here. So what is it true? Well, true is what is in here. That's why I told you to go into details. Loopnet's not going to go through that into details. You know, people will say, well, it is a type of triple net, but it's not actually a triple net. It's only a double net. Okay. And here it doesn't say anything about fee simple. Okay, so we actually don't know if we're purchasing the building or if we're purchasing the lease. But you see, view offering memorandum, and they do show all the business around it. So he did a good job. South Daytona, they put where the Walgreens is and all the business around the Walgreens, location, you know, transportation. It said property taxes, how much they pay for property taxes, what is the total assessment value. But this is also something that you can find out on public records. Okay, you just put the address, which is here, 2620 South Nova Road. Okay, oops. All right, so when you go back here, this is what you can do. You can put a heart. Click on the heart, and it's gonna be included on your favorite. You don't wanna send them only one. So you look into all of them, do your homework, sit down, take your time. Okay, so I marked this one as one of my favorite. Now, There is one here, it's a dollar store. It's the same type of investment. It's a triple net. It's a $3.9 million and the cap rate is 5.66%. It might be also a good deal. So I'm gonna click on the heart as well, and it tells me that it was saved on my favorite. Okay, then I keep looking. There's another Walgreens here for $6 million. Remember, I didn't set the price range. That's why I'm getting all type of prices. Now, I had a situation where I was working with a investor that he said that he wants a Walgreens. I said there is also an option for CVS, but he wants an Walgreens. So if you don't find any Walgreens in Florida with the price range that your investor is looking for, then you can look into other states for Walgreens. Okay?
Arlinda, what means absolute net? Absolute net.
What is absolute net?
Yeah.
It's triple net.
Okay. It means another word for triple net.
Yes.
Okay.
And you're sure that it is a triple net. Now there's a CVS here. $4.8 million with 6.2 cap rate. It's a very good cap rate. If he does have a $4.8 million, it might be a case. Okay, it might be a good investment. Now you see, they also have a gas station. Gas station, $8 million, and it's a 4.6%. Not a very good return of investment. And within my criteria, we found 43. Okay, I'm not gonna go too far with this 43. I'm just gonna go to my favorite folder, okay, where I'm going to prepare the report. Okay, so then I'm gonna go here to menu. You see menu on my left side?
Yeah.
Click on menu, and then you have my favorites. Okay, you click on my favorites. And that is the properties that I selected. Okay, we're gonna look into that. So there's a CVS, there's a Dollar Tree, and there's an Walgreens. So I'm gonna select all of them. 1, 2, 3, and I'm gonna go to create a report. I always use the default template. They have a different type of templates, but I always use the default templates. I never look into the other templates. This satisfies me. I don't have time to waste. I use this templates. Now it's loading my report. Okay. Now I have all the properties. Okay, I have the CVS here with the notes, sales notes, the highlights about the property, and a few other pictures. And I have the Dollar Tree, also the notes, the highlights, and a few other pictures for the property. And the same thing for Walgreens. Okay? Now, I can include a map so they will know the location looking at the map. So here's the map that shows here where is one is the CVS, where is two is the Dollar Tree, and where is 3, which is the Walgreens. They're all in Daytona. Okay, so they will see on the map the location of the property. Now I can just download as PDF. There's one more thing that I do here and I'm going to show you, okay? Now, you can be sure that this one here doesn't have the listing agent information. Not to say anything bad about buyers or investors, if you give them the listing agent information, they're gonna go behind your back. So make sure that that information is not there, which is not. It should be here, okay? So I'm gonna download as PDF file. So they created the PDF file. I will save on my computer. Let's create a folder here for investor John. I'm using you, John. You're the investor. John. John investor. I created and I save it. Now I'm going to do one thing. Sometimes it takes longer than we want it. It's all part of the deal. Okay, my report is created. I can email it to my investor, okay? Now, another thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to click here and display listing broker information. That second report that I'm going to download is for me. If one of these three listings my investor is interested with, I don't have to go back to the Loopnet to find out what is the information for the broker. I already have it. So I'm going to click here, display, and don't forget to click update. Display listing broker information. Now you see here, broker information. Now I have the broker's name and his phone number. It shows right here. And I'm going to download and I will change the name. I will put the BKR so I know when I send the listing to the investor, I'm not gonna send this one here. I'm gonna send the other one that doesn't have BKR on the name. Okay. Now,
I always send to myself an email with the information. Then I have it in my phone in case I'm not in front of the computer.
Yes. So then I'm going to give you a good idea. Okay. I have an account with Dropbox. Okay. I have an account with Dropbox, and it doesn't cost me much. It's about $100 a year for 1 terabyte. I just upgraded to 2 terabytes because I'm using a lot. And I think I pay $160 a year for 2 terabytes. Now, every time that I save anything on my computer, because I have 3 computers and sometimes I use one, I use the other one, I use the other one. I save it on Dropbox, which means that I get it on my phone. I download the Dropbox folder, the application, and I log in on the application, and I have all my folders here. Okay? Let me see if you guys can see this. Now, see, I have the, I'll put myself here. You see Dropbox right here?
Yes.
I open it. And now I got all my folders here, all the folders. So everything that I save on my computer, I have access on my phone. So I can open and look at any time.
That's good.
Okay, so the only thing I need to do is go to my Gmail and then compose and attach the file to my email and send it to my investor. That's it. Very simple. Guys, if you have any questions about Loopnet, give me a call, okay? And I will walk you through again. By the way, this meeting, as all the other meetings, are being recorded. So you can go to our website. I don't know if you guys had the chance to look at it. One Way Realty Group. The internet is very slow. And then you go to agent resources. When you go to agent resources, you provide the password, which is very difficult. You're gonna have a hard time to memorize, okay? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Log in. And you have here all the videos that I already uploaded. We have about 20 hours of training videos in our website that I took the time to do this for you guys. So please watch it. Okay, there's a bunch of different subjects here. There was part of our meetings in the past, and they're all here. You just go there and watch it again. Okay, all the videos is a good 20 hours of video. Okay, so as soon as we finish this meeting here, I will upload this video also to our website, and you can go back and look at it and see how to use the Loopnet. If you don't have the account, you can create an account with Loopnet. All right, guys, any question? No?
No, thank you very much.
No, understood.
Very good, very good. Now, John is here with us to talk about the sales contract for commercial. But we're not gonna have time to go over this subject right now. John. Thank you, John, for being here with us.
Sure. We have 6 minutes. I can go over the highlights of it, and then if you have any specific questions.
Good, good. Then go for it. Thank you, John.
Sure. If you want, share the screen, and I can pull up the contract.
Of course. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to get you here, John, and I will make you the host.
All right. Screen share. Let's look at this contract. Okay. You see the contract?
Yes.
Okay. So it's somewhat similar to the residential contract, but there definitely are differences, and we're going to go over the main ones today. Obviously, probably line 1 and line 2, these are going to be LLC or corporate buyers and sellers. So we want to make sure that we have the complete corporate name here. And then also what we're going to need to do is on the signature line, when you send this contract to be signed, let's say electronically, don't put the name of the corporation because that's what's going to show up as the signature. You have to find out the owner's name and their title, and we have to include that here because we need the proper person with authority to be able to sign on behalf of the LLC or corporation. So for LLCs, those are managers, and for corporations, those are officers of the company. Next, obviously, the purchase price and deposits are here. The effective date, paragraph 3, is a little bit different for commercial. What happens here is the effective date, similar to the residential, is when the last person signs or initials. Here's the important part. Calendar days, like the residential contract, are used when computing time periods, except for time periods of 5 days or less. Time periods of 5 days or less are computed without including Saturday or Sunday. So 5 days are left. Those are actually business days. So just be mindful of that. That's when the business day situation does come into play, when it's 5 days or less on the commercial contract. You can put the closing date here in paragraph 4. Financing, if they are getting financing, the financing details go in paragraph 5. What they have here for loans for commercial properties is 45 days for the loan approval date, if it's left blank, as opposed to the residential where it's 30 days. So this is good for the buyer, 45 days. And then of course, if they can't get a loan during the loan approval period, they can cancel and get the deposit back. Title is going to be, this first box should be checked where it says statutory warranty deed instead of the special warranty deed. Basically what a special warranty deed is, there's something special about the property that the seller is selling to the buyer, and there's going to be something that they're going to put on the deed that we might not want there. So always check off statutory warranty deed. We don't want to be special in this circumstance. Evidence of title, we're going to be checking off the first box here, the I section, where it talks about title insurance commitment, instead of B, this double I here, that talks about an abstract of title. So always pick the first box here on line 83, and the buyer is going to be paying for title. Check off that box there. Title exam is what we'll do. Surveys, this is important too. Line 103, check this off, seller. And we want them to give us what they have, surveys, plans, specs, engineering documents, any documents that you think the seller has that the buyer might find useful when they're doing their due diligence. So check that box off. The buyer's going to want to do a survey to make sure the boundary lines of the property and exactly what they're buying. Property conditions. So this is like the right to inspect on the residential contract. They call it a due diligence period because here for commercial properties, there's a lot more to research: zoning, environmental issues, flood zones, designation. So they call it a due diligence period. 30 days is always good because there's a lot to do here. And similar to the residential contract, during the buyer's sole and absolute discretion, they can cancel the contract and get their deposit back during this time period. So that's a due diligence period. Operations, go through that. It's definitely important to read this if you can before sending it to your buyer in case they do ask you any questions. If they do ask you questions that you do not want to answer, make sure to refer them to us and we'll be happy to answer any questions they have. Assignability, line 281. Make sure you can assign it because some buyers might decide to put it under a different corporation, or maybe they want to form a separate LLC. If you check the assignability box here, we do not have to get the seller's signature on the assignment. We can do an assignment between the buyer's one company to the other company. All we have to do is deliver a copy of that assignment to the seller and we're good to go. Put your broker information here. Don't forget to put your names there. And then optional clauses. If there is a 1031 exchange for investments, this is sometimes used, right? This is where a seller can sell one property and buy another property without having to pay taxes. We've talked about that. So if that's an issue, make sure that that's brought up. And then that's it. That's the commercial contract. If you can, feel free. If you do have to prepare one of these, you can send it to me. I can take a quick look at it. You just saw we went through it really quickly. It only took me a couple minutes. So I know exactly what to check and what not to check. And this is an important topic actually, because a lot of people are moving down here from different states, right? California, New York, the Northeast. They're going to want to find investment properties. I've already been contacted by a couple of people saying, okay, I live here now what do I do? I want to start working, and do you have any ideas of what I can do? So This is the next boom area, so it's good that you guys are going through it. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know.
Yeah, I do have a question, John.
Sure.
Yeah, you said if a buyer does 1031 exchange, we need just add an addendum form, or we need to use this commercial contract optional clauses, the form.
We add the term here, the section, this addendum optional clause. It's a rider to the contract, and basically in there, it's going to just put either the buyer or seller on notice that they might have to sign some additional documents regarding a 1031 exchange. But basically what happens is the seller would contact this 1031 exchange company. It's a third-party entity. It's not us, it's not a title company. It's an entity that holds the money when someone sells, because that person cannot receive the money. Once you receive the money, you waive the tax benefit. So it has to go into a separate bank account with a separate company. They hold it, and when it's time to buy, then they wire that money to us. It's a simple process, but it just has some additional documents that are needed, and this just lets the parties know that additional documents might be needed to be signed.
Okay, do we need to put anything in additional terms?
No, because during the due diligence period, that's when we're going to find out if there's any open permits or code violations or things like that. Because it's such a long period, 30 days, our title searches and lien searches will come back during that time. So that's all going to be determined during the due diligence period. So additional terms is not needed unless, like Erlinda was saying, you're negotiating to make sure that it is maybe a triple net lease. If there are leases on the property, you just might want to put that this contract is contingent on the leases being triple net and not double net or things like that. But otherwise, no.
Okay, do we have 30 days to cancel?
You do if we checked off the due diligence section of the contract, which is here on line 126. This is the due diligence period. Make sure to put a date here, because if you leave it blank, there is no, as opposed to the residential contract, if you leave it blank, it's automatically 15 days. There's no automatic here, so make sure to put in a date here. And then, as we said, during that time, during the buyer's sole and absolute discretion, they can cancel if they don't like anything about the property.
Okay, yeah.
All right, thanks everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks,
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
All right, John, thank you. One thing important that John mentioned about the due diligence for us to keep in mind is never go beyond the scope of your license. The due diligence will require an attorney and a CPA. So get an attorney and get a CPA. If your investor doesn't have one, you can refer someone, but don't go through any financial documents. Try to help the investor to find out if the cap rate is really 6.75% or whatever it says there. Let the CPA do the job. Okay? Don't never go beyond the scope of your license, because it can go bad to you. They're gonna say that you are the one who advised them over the financial reports. And also never give any legal advice, because that will be practicing law without the license. And remember, every time that we practice any job without the proper license, it's considered to be a third-degree felony. It's a third-degree felony. And the penalty for third-degree felony is up to 5 years in jail and/or up to $5,000. You don't want that.
Don't want that. If
You don't want that. So don't pose yourself as an attorney without having the proper license. All right, guys, it was a great meeting. I love it. Thank you very much for being here with us. And we'll see you again next Thursday. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call.
Okay,
Thank you,
Thanks,
Arlindo. Thank you,
Orlando.
John.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Enjoy your day.
Be safe, everyone.
Thank you.